What's up everybody, I'm Matt Brody and I'm in the middle of a South American jungle. Okay, not really. I'm actually in Nashville, Tennessee in the Gaylord Hotel, and there's something like 7 waterfalls here inside the hotel, plus shopping areas and restaurants. It's like its own little country. It's huge and I've been lost. All right, so it took nearly 10 minutes to walk from where we parked the car to where a hotel room was. That's how big this is. It was almost a half a mile. I think it was like 0.4 miles to get from the car to the room. Alright, so it's really funny, if you watch the last video where I did the road mic demonstration in the hurricane, I told you that everybody I pass tends to think there's some sort of animal on top of my camera. And that's still very true. I've been walking around vlogging a little bit and I've had at least 3 or 4 people look up and go, "Oh, I thought that was an animal." I think someone needs to make a windscreen that actually looks like a little mouse or a rat or some sort of varmint. Someone get on that. The really interesting thing is that it's actually all really indoors. There's a ceiling up above that you can see, so it is entirely enclosed, so no matter what the weather is, it's beautiful in here in the rainforest inside of Nashville in a hotel. So I'm actually in Nashville for a conference I'm helping to sponsor, but I'm hanging out at this hotel and it's got waterfalls inside, so I can't help but go and try to photograph the waterfalls inside. It's just weird. It's cool, it's weird. All right, so the Gaylord Hotel is huge and it's beautiful, but it's also full of people and very loud, so it's hard to find anywhere that's quiet enough to actually vlog where you can hear me without hearing a whole lot of other noise. Even here in this hallway where it's relatively quiet, still lots of people moving back and forth. And so anyway, but I hope you can hear me okay, even above the music. So anyway, I would teach you how to do a waterfall in front of a waterfall, but it's just too loud and it wouldn't be worth it. So we're gonna talk about it here and I'll show you there and hopefully it all works. Lighting here's terrible, let's go somewhere else. All right, this is a lot better. It's a little bit quieter, light's better, much more conducive to teaching you how to shoot a waterfall. So there's really 3 main keys or tricks to shooting a waterfall. It's not hard, but having these little tools and tricks are really going to increase your chances of getting a great waterfall photo. So the first tool that you're gonna need is a tripod. And it doesn't have to be the greatest tripod in the world, especially if you use some of these other tricks. But you do want it to be sturdy enough to hold your camera still without getting any kind of shake, and if you're out where there's going to be wind, you want it to be strong enough to kind of hold tight against that wind. So a good tripod is key, but it doesn't have to be the greatest thing in the world. This, for what I'm using right now, is just a little Manfrotto travel tripod. I like it a lot. It's old, it's been with me forever, but it works just fine for travel and something like this. Now, the big key or secret to a great waterfall photo is getting the water to be almost silky smooth. So what that means is it's going to take a longer shutter speed. You can't use 1/25 of a second or even 1/60th of a second. It needs to be a really long shutter speed, like a full second, 2 seconds, even 4 or 5 seconds, depending on how smooth and silky you want that water to look. So the way you achieve that is with something like this, which is an ND filter. And in this case, it's a variable ND filter. It goes from about 1 stop to about 10 stops. So this one's got a really big range on it, but you can buy them where they're just a 2-stop ND filter or a 4-stop ND filter. And basically what that means is it's cutting down the amount of light entering the lens or the camera by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stops. And a stop is a set amount of light. So it's the difference between going from a 60th of a second to a 30th of a second, or from a 30th of a second to a 15th of a second. So every time those numbers half or double, that's a stop of light. So an ND filter cuts down that much light. So to get from a 60th of a second down to 4 seconds, you're going to need to cut down a lot of light. And the reason I like the variable ND filter so much is because it's a one-size-fits-all solution. You don't have to pack a bunch of filters in your bag. You can just have one. And this one's made by Hoya, but the way it works, see if I can show you, it's a little fogged because it's humid out here. All right, so the way it works is, you can see as you twist it, it's letting in a lot of light and less light. And so you can use that to cut down the amount of light so that your exposure is longer, so that the water continues to fall during the frame while the shutter is open, creating that silky smooth sort of look. And that really ties into step 3, which is setting your exposure. So on the 6D Mark II here, which is what I normally would use, I would put the filter on the front like so, and then I would set up the camera and I would try to get my exposure somewhere in the 4-second range, 3 to 4 seconds, maybe even longer depending on what it was going for. But in this case, it's about 3 to 4 seconds. Adjust your ISO accordingly and take the picture, and it should look something like this. Because the waterfalls are so loud, you'd never be able to hear me trying to explain all this in front of the waterfall. So that's why I'm going to explain it here, and then we're going to go to the waterfall and I'll let you watch me set up and take the picture, and I'll yell over the waterfall noise so you can kind of hear exactly what settings I'm using, and we'll see what kind of picture we get. Alright, so you see what I mean about how loud it is in front of the waterfalls? There's really no way for me to teach you well without it sounding terrible. So watch me get set up. I'll try to yell out some tips as we do it, and we'll see what kind of image we get. Actually, before we do that, let's get the thumbnail. Thumbnail done. So the first step is obviously setting up the tripod and the camera. One little tip that I forgot to tell you over at the other place was when you set up your camera, you're going to want it to be in manual. That way you can control all of the settings. And if you don't have a great tripod, or if you want to make sure your shots are super, super crisp, set the camera onto a timer so that you're not actually pressing the shutter button when you want to take the picture. Alright, so the timer's on a 10-second timer just to make sure all the little wobbles get out of the tripod from pressing it, since it's not the biggest, sturdiest tripod ever. So, alright, so in this case, the camera is set to 1 second exposure at f2.8 with an ISO of 100, and that's with the ND filter set at about 8 or 9 stops. It's not an exact science on the variable ND filter, but anyway, that's roughly where we're at. And it looks really good, but I want to get the water just a little bit smoother, so I'm going to crank the ND filter all the way down and pop it up to 2 seconds. Again, this hotel is huge, and there's just, these waterfalls are everywhere. We'll go see another one in just a second. All right, so pictures came out great. Nothing too spectacular. I mean, we're in a hotel and it's a nice waterfall, but it's not like we're actually in the middle of the Amazon with a once-in-a-lifetime waterfall opportunity, so we're not going to go too nuts. But I did want you to learn how to take a waterfall, because if you're like me and you like going out hiking and things like that, it's a great little thing to be able to get some really nice waterfalls with some really silky smooth water. Just looks really good. It sets you apart from everybody else who's just taking pictures with their point and shoot or their cell phone who can't do that. So that's a little bonus. All right, let's go somewhere else. Onward, young vlogger. I found an arcade in a jungle with waterfalls. How in the world do I get to the other, trying to find the other sort of giant foresty looking area, and I can't seem to do it. I'm a little lost. Oh, there it is. Carrying camera bags upstairs is hard. Let me just show you this real quick. I think I'm lost again. It's like a jungle maze. All right, so this is like waterfall, This is like waterfall 5 or, I can't point. All right, so this is like waterfall 5 or 6 that I found. There's just so many of them, big and small. But I do want to get a photo of this one too. See, and now you know how to get awesome waterfall photos. Not gonna get silky smooth water. Okay, weird thing. These are real fish, real goldfish and whatever other kind of fish, but they're just there. And they're perfectly still. All of them aimed in the same direction, perfectly still. And they're creeping me out. Alright, well that's it. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. Also make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell of freedom so that you get notified of any new episodes. And until next time, keep shooting, God bless, and we'll see you next time.